Greetings, Global Africa. This is King Adrian from Southern Cameroon, the Pan African King speaking. I came across a very interesting article which reads Prince William argues for urgent depopulation efforts in Africa. Prince William of United Kingdom of Britain wants that Africa should be depopulated. And this is not the first time many Western nations or many people from Western nations speaks about population control in Africa. You know, the thing is this. Many Western nations and many Western citizens, European citizens, or Western citizens across the world, they have an agenda for Africa and they want to implement that agenda in Africa. And one of this agenda is population control. Another one of the agenda is homosexuality in Africa. They want that Africans should accept homosexuality, which is one thing that most African nations, if not all African nations, with the exception of South Africa, who have actually legalized homosexuality, most African nations are against it. But as you know, the West always wants to play God when it comes to Africa because they colonize us, because they made some of our people into slavery, or sold them, took them into slavery. So they believe and they know that they're in control. African nations is owned by them, not by Africans. That's according to most Western nations, aka somebody like Prince William, who sit and discuss this stuff. And this Tusk Trust charity and this Tusk Trust charity is in charge or is committed to the protecting of African wildlife. And if you go behind this Tusk Trust, who controls it? Definitely Western nations, definitely white people. They want to protect African wildlife. But then again, think about it, Africans. Who are the one going into African nations and killing animals in Africa? Europeans, Western nations. They leave from their own nation and go and kill wildlife for the fun of it. Yet they have organization that is supposed to protect all wildlife, which is where Prince William used this avenue to express his idea about depopulating Africa, because Africa is supposed to double by 2050. Why do they think? Because they colonize us, because they stole our people and turned them into slaves. They have the right, the God-given right to determine our lives. They have the right to tell us to accept homosexuality and they want us to accept it. They have the right to tell us to depopulate our country and we accept it. Why do they think that? Think about it. And another point that I want to express, or another perspective. Many Western nations are in Africa where they exploit the natural resources. So the natural resources that are in Africa are mostly exploited for the usage by Western worlds, meaning that our own people who are on the land, who are in Africa, do not reap the benefit of the African resources. Most of them don't. But those who actually reap those benefits are Western nations. You got timber. France is exploiting timber in all of African nations, or at least 14 of African nations that they control. You have Britain also doing that in in the countries that they colonize in Africa. Their businesses do not benefit us. It benefits them. Yet they want to sit and dictate to us that we should depopulate our continent. Where our great leaders who are supposed to speak up against Western influences and against Western hegemony, Western superiority. Where the Western world is from people like Prince William, they think they are superior and they have the authority, the right to speak for us. They don't represent us. The problems that Southern Cameroon is facing today is thanks to Britain or UK and France. Our people are dying, yet they're talking about population, depopulation of African nations. If you look at all over Africa, there are so many small wars happening. People are dying. Yet they are predicting that by 2050, predicting, not facts, not hardcore evidence, that by 2050, Africa would increase in double or would double by 2050. Not hard evidence, prediction. And based on this prediction, they want to now force down depopulation on African countries or African continent. This is what these people do. They go around and manipulate things so that they can control and exploit the resources for their own benefit. They're not doing it to help Africa. And there's no evidence to show that by 2050 Africa will double. And there's a chance that it could double, but there's no evidence to show that it will double. So enough of this prediction shit. You're just using this little fact or opinion that you have to suppress your own views about what is going on in Africa. But Africa must stand for Africa and must stand by Africans. It's the Pan-African way. We cannot allow the Western world to determine our fate. We must become the masters of our fate, of our destiny. And we cannot just allow them to shove down their opinions on us. Africa may have been colonized by the Western world. Africa may have been colonized by France and Britain. But they don't control our faith. They don't control how we live our life. They don't control who we want to be. Britain and the Kingdom of Britain has benefited a lot from African nations and have gotten rich through it, and they given the chance for Prince William to sit and do nothing, go around making stupid statements about depopulation of Africa. Now, this is a new time. We will not allow the West to tell us how to live our life. We are Africans, and we know who we are and who we have to be. France must go. We don't want any business with France in Africa. And the people of Africa must stand up and speak boldly against France. And when we get rid of France from Africa, the next nation that must go is United Kingdom, where Prince William is. We will have to stop doing business with them, and they could take the business somewhere else, because our people do not benefit from the economic privileges that Africa provides. But Britain, United Kingdom, France benefit from that. And that privileges need to be ended. That privileges need to be revoked. That privileges need to stop. They need to stop seeing Africa as their own. And we must take our continent back. France must go. United Kingdom is the cause of what is happening inside Southern Cameroon. France is the cause of what is happening inside Southern Cameroon. It's a global effect of their action in our continent. This is King Echo. I'm out.